What's going on, Badger Nation? Join me. I'm here walking on the Amalfi Coast, looking at the sunset over the Tyrrhenian Sea. And I had some Amazon advertising tips that I wanted to share, along with some stories from the world of Amazon marketing to help you better understand your advertising account. By the end of this episode, you'll have a better understanding of how we interview here at Ad Badger for new members of our PPC team, as well as a type of analysis that you can prepare in a few minutes to help you better understand your own advertising account. If you are also interviewing to hire your own PPC manager, this is a great question to ask them to see how they think. Now, this question is really relevant for me right now because I'm interviewing for a PPC campaign manager. We're hiring here at Ad Badger, and I have to mention adbadger.com/careers if you're interested in this position. I wanted to share a technical question that we ask our candidates, the answer, and how that answer can help you optimize your campaigns. So here's the question. Imagine you want to know your ad spend, revenue, and ACoS by match type for an entire account. How would you find out and describe what you would do with this information? Now, I've asked this question on interviews before, and people have gotten stuck on this one. It's a really good one to assess people's Excel skills, their understanding of what kind of reports you can get from Amazon, as well as their understanding of overall account and keyword composition. So what's your answer? Go ahead, pause it here, and see if you can think it through. Alrighty, here's the answer. The first thing I would do is go into Amazon advertising, and I would download the sponsored products and sponsored brand reports. Once I have that data, for each of them, I would create a pivot table. And if you've never created a pivot table before, just go into the help menu of either Excel or Google Sheets and just type in the word pivot, and it'll just instantly make one for you. It takes about 5 seconds. Now in the pivot table itself, I would add the rows for match type, and then I would add spend, revenue, and then I would add my own column for ACoS. And boom. Within about a minute or so, I've got a list for sponsored products of ad spend, ad revenue, and ACoS by match type. I would then go ahead and combine this with my sponsored brands data, and then boom, I would have 2 pivot tables, one for sponsored products, one for sponsored brands. But I could also combine these if I wanted to. Now, if you're an Ad Badger customer, you can already get this information inside Ad Manager. Just go to View All Keywords and then filter by match type. We're also building in a pretty pie chart in the dashboard section this summer. So that's the first part of the answer. What about the second? What on earth is the value of knowing your ad spend, revenue, and ACoS by match type? How could you actually use that information to improve your account? First and foremost, it's a diagnostic tool. You might never know if your account is too loose. And what I mean by that is you're targeting too broadly, literally meaning you have too many broad keywords. So let's walk through 2 scenarios. Now, in preparation for this episode, I ran this data for 5 clients. So I'll talk generally then specifically. So generally, if your account is struggling with a high ACoS, I might run this report or refer to this data to see if there's just too many broad match keywords running up the bill with a high ACoS. For one client, I saw just that. Too many broad match keywords. I could then go in, filter by broad match keywords, and then see exactly where I should take action. Do I need to add new negatives? Do I simply need to get rid of expensive broad match keywords? And don't forget, broad match keywords don't convert. It's their search terms that run up the bill or bring in sales. So I might go in and see about what kinds of terms I should be isolating and graduating them up to exact match so that I can get a better, tighter, more controlled account. This data might also be really good when trying to justify a campaign restructure. Let's say your broad match is running up the bill, it's really expensive, high ACoS, and you've got your match types all mashed up. It's very difficult to control your ad spend, your budgeting, when you have a campaign budget that has a campaign with lots of mixed and matched match types. I could make an argument to say, hey, let's segment these match types into separate campaigns. That way we can do appropriate budgeting. So we can reduce the budget for our broad if broad is misbehaving. So this is a great metric for those reasons. Now, You might not always want to limit your broad match. Let's go ahead to the other end of the spectrum. In this scenario, we might have an account that is very tight, very controlled. Maybe the account is having struggles with volume, sales volume, and scaling, as one prospective client was. I noticed that they had too few broad match keywords. They spent about $1,000 a month on broad, $5,000 on exact, and $4,000 a month on phrase. To me, this represented some opportunity to do some more testing, some research. Let's go out there and add more broad match keywords to see what we can do to find more opportunity. Let's go find terms to the left and right of our exact match keywords. So I would go in, take a look at their exact match keywords, and then I would add them to a broad match campaign. Separate campaign means I can control the budget for all these keywords, and I can control placement bids for all those keywords. And I would grab those best exact match, add them in a separate campaign, and then I would add the exact match version of those keywords as negative exacts to that broad match campaign. So I knew that all of these search terms that were coming in are new and novel and not the same as the exact match campaign. So it'll help me find new keywords. Now the question is, how often will this come up? I would say this often comes up for me personally in the early stages of working with a client. I love to take out this data to get a sense of what they've been up to. Has someone been too loose with the account? Has they been too tight with it? Is broad way over or under optimized? For your own account, you might want to see how your ad spend is funneling. You might be surprised by how much you're actually spending on broad match. You might not even be realizing that maybe 50, 60, 70% of your budget is on broad, and it could be way tighter or controlled to give you a better ACOS. You might find that ACOS is the highest in broad match. If it does, you can go in, add negatives, lower bids. You might want to make some campaign structure adjustments. If your exact match has the highest ACOS, then that might mean you're overbidding too high on keywords. So this is a pulse check. To be honestly, it doesn't take that much time to prepare. It really is a nice to have that I know that some of the best PPC managers I know like to have it as a metric in their cockpit. It's something cool to be able to refer to. So I recommend that you either ask someone on your team to prepare this number for you once a month so you can see that pulse check, or use a tool like AdBadger to help display this for you in a way that it's always on and up to date. And you can just sort of review it by campaign, or you can review it by portfolio just to get a sense of how different parts of your account are behaving, and then use that action. Too many broad, time to trim it down. Too high ACOS in broad, time to trim it down. Like that kind of information is really powerful. So it helps you understand the composition of your advertising, helps you more easily use it as a health metric, as a diagnostic metric to help you dig in deeper, and help you understand if your budget is being eaten up by broad, which happens more often than you would think. And the recommendation there is, of course, if it is being eaten up by broad, segment your match types into different campaigns, and then limit the budget flowing to those broad match keywords and do bid optimization, of course. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is one of my favorite concepts in Amazon advertising. I like to call these hidden ratios. These are ratios that you need to do a little bit of work to get in the default interface. These kinds of hidden ratios I've talked about before on an episode with Elizabeth Green, one of my favorite friends in the industry, talking about those hidden ratios. And so this is an example of a hidden ratio, the ratio of ad spend, sales, and ACOS by match type. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've developed a new taste for Aperol spritz while being here in Italy this summer, and well, it's time to enjoy one. Have a good one, Badger Nation. I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.